have returned from hiatuses of durations to actually do a video. Book haul. Lots of books. Shall we get into it? One of the groups is The Way Things Work by Simon & Schuster, Volume 2. The story behind this book is this was purchased at Thrift Books, I believe for my birthday, if I remember correctly, and ironically enough, the whole reason why I learned about this series, these volumes, was because of an accidental order from Thrift Books, which ended up in our possession. It was books we ordered, it wasn't for somebody else, but point being is that I fell in love with it, and then I found this book sitting next to another copy, and I'm like, wait, is this the copy I have? No, there are two. There's another book. Oh, yay! And so, this one. A gift, also for my birthday, from Ariane. Fusion, The Energy of the Future, by Gary McCracken and Peter Stote. This one is useful as it gives the basic overviews of fusion power plants, which is usually not something talked about, as for the most part every book in the 60s is focused on trying to get it started, and this book is somewhat helpful as it has some basic, not in-depth, break-your-brain mathematics, like Samuel S. Gladstone's book. Great book, but still you need a brain surgery every time you read it. This book, very good, has modern units, not CGS, which makes it a little bit more comprehensible to understand. I don't know if I did a video on these, but I'm throwing them in anyway. David Boudin's System of Space Nuclear Fission Electrical Power Systems and Nuclear Radioisotope Systems, books 1 and 3, with book 2 being procured some years ago, and that one is about thermal rocketry systems. These ones are very useful if you are trying to figure out how the pacemakers used to work. Next one. An introduction to... Why am I holding it sideways? An introduction to transportation phenomena in materials engineering. This was also purchased around the time of the birthday book haul, and also purchased at half price. I'm honestly not quite sure I understand what the heck's going on. Basically, if you want to know how a fluid flows between two plates, which is literally what I just opened it up to. Where's the thing? Why? Transport by heat conduction with Fourier's and Newton's laws. Equations of continuity, conservation of momentum, and fluid flow past submerged objects. That sounds interesting. It tells you how stuff moves, apparently. Then, something that is, as far as I know, straight up voodoo. Solid State Electronics by Rutkowski. George B. Rutkowski. And solid state electronics, as far as I know, is similar to transistors. I lose control of how circuits work past the vacuum tube stage. I'm still stuck in the 50s when computers needed to take up rooms. This should be very interesting. I do not know much about it, but it has some information on Schottky diodes, which I've heard about. I don't know how they work, though. Hence the book. The next one, which you can't read, is from the 1940s, which, if I'm not mistaken, the person who originally, yes, 1947, the person who originally bought this book, their house, which is on record in this book, is still standing, which is neat. Oh no. Circuits and Machines in Electrical Engineering by John O. Kraehenbuehl. Figure out your own pronunciation. And Max A. Fawcett. I'm fairly certain that's Fawcett. This is volume 2. This might explain why I'm a bit confused. Anyway, one of the neat things about this book is that it actually converts some of the metric stuff to, like, the force that an electromagnet will pull. Instead of kilograms of force, or newtons, I think it's newtons maybe, it has pounds of force, which is far more comprehensible to my puny American mind. Then, one of the good chunkas. Standard Handbook for Mechanical Engineers by Baumeister and Marx. This book is... Let me just tell you what sold me on it. Aeronautics, astronautics, atmospheric pollution and cleaning, gas cleaning, atomic nuclear power, automobiles, bearings, plane, ball, and roller. And oh, so much more. And a good chunk of math to go along with it, which is, I think, a lot of calculus. And some really confusing algebra. Yeah. Anyway, I've been enjoying this book, trying to understand how air bearings work and hydrodynamic bearings. That has been fun. Then, Plant Design and Economics for Chemical Engineers by Peter and Timmerhaus. It has some conversion ratios, because we all need those conversion ratios, let's be honest with ourselves. Seriously, who wrote this book? Max S. Peters and Klaus D. Timmerhaus. This basically tells you how to operate a plant most effectively, which is helpful. I don't know why I got this book, to be honest. It sounded neat, and if I ever need to run a chemical plant, I'm definitely going to be reading this a lot. You never know. Then, for my personal designs of very debatable and shoddy fusion reactors, high-frequency switching power supplies, because high frequency tends to mean high voltage to me. I know that's not accurate, but it's a hobbyist book of some kind. It helps you calculate the circuits and the inductances and the impedances of high-frequency switchings, which operate on weirder laws than the lower frequency stuff for reasons that I don't comprehend. It's the book. I'm saying a lot of stuff I don't understand. Well, this is why. The other one I picked up was the Engineering Mechanics Statics by R.C. Hibbeler. This book has been, I've flipped through this book a little bit. This one has been very helpful in comprehending some of the weirder forces of, say, I'm pulling on this book, it calculates force and force. I've been reading that. I remember doing some of this in my last year of high school, but you use it or lose it. I haven't had a decent enough reason to use it, and so I am relearning it. It's always helpful to relearn some stuff. And I think that sums up that one. Oh, a gift from my brother, who is in the field I'm going into, The Mechanics and Thermodynamics of Propulsion, the second edition by Philip Hill and Carl Peterson. Oh, this book is beautiful, and ironically enough, it smells like an old person. Don't tell my brother that, but why does your garage... Why does it smell like a garage? Or an attic? Where did you have this book? Thank you for it. I love it. And I have much worse smelling books. And this thing is beautiful. Gives your basic principles. Gives all the mathematics for calculating impellers for rocketry. Centrifugal axial compressors. Centrifugal axial turbines. Expansion ratios. Testing things. Oblique shock waves. Very useful if you're trying to get an engine designed. Definitely working on this. Now, for the most recent book haul with... Did she say? I don't know. I assume she'll have said by now. John, with Hey Y'all, Listen Up. Let's start with the warpy stuff. Black Holes and Time Warps by Kip S. Thorne. This was the physicist, I believe, who shadow roped for the Interstellar and was the author of the Interstellar book, which I read in 20-something. Sometime in the last decade. I don't remember. Sometime in the last 5 years. I've started reading this book. About there, although some of it was... Yeah, I've read about that much, and I'm enjoying it so far. Next book. This one is a bit of an interesting one. I was not expecting this when I accidentally found it. It's disturbingly light for some reason. I never noticed that before. Special and General Relativity by Albert Einstein, and it has some of the math that goes along with it. Seriously, why is this book so light? Is there some sort of warping going on here? What the heck? Oh, and there's appendices and tensors and some other lectures, so I don't properly know Special and General Relativity, and so I'm hoping this book will improve my mathematical understanding of the theory. I just understand the basics. Next, Structural Engineering, the Combination Edition Volumes 1, Introduction to Design Concepts and Analysis, and Volume 2, Indeterminate Structures, by Richard N. White, Peter Gergley, and Robert G. Sexsmith. I am looking to build things, and so I figured some structural engineering couldn't hurt. I understand a building and a plane are built entirely different, but they're still made out of metal, and metals, as far as I know, should behave in similar ways when put under stresses. So I'm hoping these books will help out in that regard. Next, Unified Technical Concepts, Physics for Technicians. This sounded fascinating to me, and it has your basic physics and a bunch of different problems from electrical to thermodynamics to transducers. Isn't that a sound wave thing? It's probably similar to your standard high school or college level physics book. Was that a laser? But it has a bunch of problems which will help me cobble together my own problems from other things and work it out in this way. It'll help. More knowledge. What else do we got? This was one that I saw a while ago and was thankfully still on the shelf. Steel Structures, 4th edition, Design and Behavior by Charles G. Salmon and John E. Johnson. All the delicious stuff for designing steel structures and things that I don't understand. And KSI, which if I remember correctly is a unit used in structural engineering for 1000 PSI or something like that. I don't know. I've flipped through this book cursory, but I have to admit I've been reading others, like this, like that one right there. It looks good. Next, Maps and Diagrams by Monkhouse? F.J. Monkhouse and H.R. Wilkinson. Monkhouse. And this book is about how to draw a map, types of maps, things on maps, populations on maps over time. It's got little flip outs. Do I ever need to know about map making? Probably not. Could it be helpful? Maybe if I ever have to do some basic cartography? Probably not. Is it nice? Yes. Next books. These are purely for work and not for pleasure. Calculus, 6th edition for business, economics, and social and life sciences by Lawrence D. Hoffman and Gerald L. Bradley. It's calculus. What can I say? Oh. And somebody's notes. I wonder if they're right. And, not to be confused with calculus, we have Calculus, the 4th edition, by James Stewart. You always have to have more than one book. I don't know why. I don't understand one, you might understand the other. What else we got? Not to be confused with any of the other Mechanical for Solids books, like that one, which technically doesn't say Mechanics Solids. Anyway, Introduction to the Mechanics of Solids, 2nd edition with SI units. Stephen H. Crandall, Norman C. Dahl, and Thomas L. Lardner. It has the slug conversion to kilograms. If you don't know what a slug is, slugs are awesome. And this has similar things in it to this one right here. Basically tells you how much force is going to be put on something in what directions, so you don't break your stuff when you're designing it because somebody decided to put 500 pounds on an I-beam in torsion stress instead of having it in compressive or whatever bendy motion stresses are. The one that I've been reading most likely the most, with the exception of the Kip Thorne book, The Engineer's Companion, a concise handbook of engineering fundamentals by Mott Saunders. This is a 1964, and it has principal symbols which have 5 different meanings depending on which part of the book you're in. Where's the contents, mathematics, mechanics, fluid mechanics, thermodynamics, heat transfer, electricity and magnetism, which includes all that funky electrostatic stuff, nuclear physics, engineering economy, and the mathematics and physical tables, which are at the end of the book, as all things should be, which contain logarithms? I know that logs were a lot harder back in the day, and I probably should learn how to use these things. Seriously, how do you use a log table? I really need to learn this. I need to read this book more. Ugh. Thank God for calculators, otherwise the world would be a much harder place. Or maybe we should all pretend to be Chinese and learn how to operate without calculators. Because the world is going nuts, I decided it might be a good idea to figure out where I can get my water. Why? Because our water is shoddy as it is. And so I figured, well, what better way to learn about water than the Water Encyclopedia? By Fritz van der Lieden, Fred L. Troyes? I think it's French. I'm sorry. And David Keith Todd. David Keith Todd? Is that 3 first names? Anyway, it was from the regional planning of Ohio State University. David Keith Todd, yeah, that's somebody's name. What do you know? Climatic data, the United States, the world, weather extremes, precipitation data, snow and snow melt, hydrological elements, hydrological cycle, water resources, United States, world balance data, and this might help me argue global warming issues and other things that are groundwater. Water wells, injection wells, pumping of water, subsidies, aquifer care. Point being is that this will help me know things about water and soil. Do I need to know that? Why not? The book, the second edition by Rita G. Lerner and George L. Triggs, The Encyclopedia of Physics, which I swear is very similar to that other book, which I don't know the name of off the top of my head, but it's also a big chunk of munka. And you want to know about ferromagnetism? You've got 2 pages of description and mathematics. You want to know about Feynman diagrams? Congratulations, you have almost half a page and a half, and you also have bibliographies. This book is probably going to be dangerous, and/or a wonderful shopping list. You want to learn about fractal patterns? It's in here. Nuclear? It's in here. Vacuums and vacuum technology. Oh, it has a, what's that called? This doodah right here, which you can't see. It's some sort of oil vacuum pump. I don't know the name of it. It might be called the oil vacuum pump, but it's awesome. Helps you get really low pressures. And so, that was the most recent collection of books over what I think is probably 2 or 3 months. It's a nice, tidy bit of knowledge. And hopefully this will help me comprehend the world a bit better. Where am I going to find the time to read all this? What should I read first? I'm already reading. So, yeah, this is the book. These are books. They're beautiful. And, yeah. I'm broke. I'm going to need to work. Lots of chores coming up. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day. This was Book Zealots.